We're the Coal Guys. I'm George.
And I'm David.
Today we're going to be talking about the Moseley Street Project. We're joined with Bill Danielson. He's been a town councilman for Irmo, along with Kerry Powers, the president of the Irmo Chamber of Commerce.
The Coal Guys isn't your average real estate podcast.
Our mission is to give buyers and sellers the power of knowledge through their real estate transactions.
We do this by helping first-time homebuyers realize that there are more expenses that come with owning a home than just the loan.
We also understand there are many times move-up buyers and sellers have forgotten the process because it's been so long since their last real estate transaction.
We make the downsizing easy.
Once you get into the habit of working with us, the process becomes so smooth you won't mind to move.
We are also excited to share with you what all the Midlands has to offer.
This episode is brought to you by Dick Dyer Mercedes-Benz, the first Mercedes-Benz in South Carolina.
Yeah, so we are excited because there are great things happening here in the town of Irmo. Thanks, Bill, I think, to your leadership, and Kerry, to your leadership of the chamber. I mean, it's exciting to see some of the things that are starting to churn and be thought about and the future of Irmo, and we want to talk about that. But before we get started, if we'll start with Bill. Bill, can you kind of introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us about who you are and what you do.
Thank you. Bill Danielson. I am an Irmo town councilman, elected about 3 years ago and then reelected after 2 years to another 4-year term. So I'm also mayor pro tem, which is just a temporary mayor in the event our mayor has issues or goes down or whatever it may be and misses a meeting, those types of things. So I want to clear that before anybody even asks. Nobody knows what a mayor pro tem is. So that's basically it. You're voted by your council members, and you're the replacement mayor in the event somebody needs a replacement mayor. That's it. That's the bottom line. So I can't put it any more straightforward than that. That's what I'm here for, I guess, today. I wear a lot of hats depending on what the occasion is. But this is exciting. The town has been, a lot of people in the town have been really clamoring for something like Main Street to happen. And thanks to Kerry and the chamber, kind of in concert with the town, it's been a couple of years now that they put out a questionnaire and all those good things. So that seems to be what the folks are looking for here. So I'm here as your local town councilman.
Awesome. Kerry?
I'm Kerry Powers, and I'm the president and CEO of the Greater Irmo Chamber of Commerce, and I have been for the last 8 years. And I tell everybody that I have the best job in the entire world. I get to work closely alongside you guys, and I get to work closely alongside Bill here. We've known each other a really long time. Our first meeting was hilarious. And but I absolutely love him so much. So I'm excited to talk about all the things we have going on in Irmo.
Awesome. So we haven't even addressed what's going on yet. We've heard Main Street, we've heard Moseley Street. So what is going to be happening in Irmo, and what is going to be done on Moseley Street that both of y'all and the four of us are so excited about?
I would say the goal here is to, for those of you who don't know where Moseley Street is, there may be some of you who don't, it is adjacent to the community park, the Irmo Community Park, and it runs directly to Woodrow Street, North Woodrow, right by Loveland Coffee. So past Carlisle and then back down to Church Street where it originates, which is the entrance to the community park. Okay. Most of the property there is undeveloped, and that would seem to be the natural place to put a Main Street project. So that's what we're trying to kick off. We have a critical meeting tonight of the town council where we're gonna hopefully agree on a couple of items in the agenda to move forward with some of the R&D and some of the acquisition of the property. So that's what's happening. It's going to be a destination place for everyone to come. Irmo has a history of being the gateway to Lake Murray, which is great. But we want people to come to Irmo, right? People think about we're going to shop in Irmo. They go to Harbison, right? They're not here. They're not in in the town of Irmo. So we're trying to create that village type atmosphere. So that's what's going on right now.
And so with that, what are the hopes of that? I mean, besides just being a destination for, people to focus on, like, oh, we have a downtown Irmo now. What's the broader vision for it?
The broader vision is basically, as far as some of us are concerned, I'm concerned from a driving force behind this to try to make this happen, is the economic impact on this town. It would be tremendous, running numbers and looking at what we could possibly do there with a public-private partnership. If it came down to that, the community would then come to the park and then be able to go into any of these restaurants or whoever anchors this area. But the goal is economic impact. The goal is to increase revenues for the town, therefore we can provide more services to our constituents and secure a village, or whatever term you want to use, that will be the central place for people in Irmo to meet other people in Irmo and to spend their money. So we're looking at about a $30-some million economic impact right out of the box, year one, once it's completed. You're talking about 300-400 jobs created. You're talking about a whole lot of positive stuff.
Wow.
Yep.
So, and I'll just piggyback off that real quick. Kerry, as president of the Chamber of Commerce, what does that mean to you and your organization?
So from my standpoint, part of my job is to sell Irmo. Part of my job is to encourage people to bring their businesses here, to raise their children here, build houses, all that kind of thing. And that's sometimes difficult when you don't have a lot of things to attract them to the town. And so for the last couple of years, we've seen unprecedented growth across the other side of the dam. We see it in Chapin. All the municipalities that are on our borders have a Main Street district or a special purpose district, something for people to go to. And so when we all started talking, when was it, back in the during the pandemic, it was 2020, and we sat down and put the survey together, that was the main thing that people wanted. They wanted to stay here. They don't want to go to Lexington. They don't want to go to Columbia. They want to stay here. They want to see their dollars spent here in Irmo. And so that's when the work began, and it's pretty exciting.
This is one thing I love about you, Bill. You're a straight shooter. And the best part about it is you hear a lot of people complain about Lexington's traffic because it is bad. And that's what happens when you create a city like that. With the Main Street on Irmo, I've heard you say before, you have to create traffic before there'll be a solution. What's your input on that?
Well, first I'm impressed that you're actually listening. That's always impressive that someone actually listens to a politician, which I'm not really. I don't consider myself a politician. I'm a businessman who happened to get elected as a councilman. But I appreciate that. I'll take that as a compliment because I am a straight shooter. Sometimes too straight, but it is what it is. And here's the problem, and this goes with everything that Irmo is battling right now. Irmo has no control. The town of Irmo has no control of the road system, the highway system. Any of the roads that you're driving around on, they don't belong to us. They're not our roads. We don't have to maintain them. We don't have to do anything. That's the good part. The bad part is we have no control over what happens with those roads. We can't widen Broad River Road. We can't widen Highway 6, which is another hot button right now, Dreher Shoals Road. We can't widen it. Councilman Sickinger and I, a week before last, spent 2 hours in a meeting with the Department of Transportation. And they pretty much are in charge of everything. Lexington County, Richland County, and DOT. They are the controlling entities of what surrounds Irmo. And in that meeting, there was a lot of frustration shared about the process with which DOT uses to expand roads, widen roads, do the things we need to do. And one of the things was, one of my hot buttons is to widen some of these highways, and why is it taking so long? I won't tell you some of the answers simply because you think I made them up. But I promise you, I didn't make them up. But it's bureaucracy, right? It is what it is. It's layers of government. They'll have a meeting to have a meeting whether that group can have a meeting. That's basically, I will say that Representatives Nathan Ballantyne and Jay Kilmartin were in that meeting also. It was about a group of 20 people. And I wanted it to confirm what I'd already heard and what I think was going on. And the bottom line is Dreer Shoals Road, as an example, it's not even on the radar. So what does that lead you to believe? The only thing that you can do is develop an area in the hopes that the government realizes that and can then come back and make the improvements. Now you want to push a lot of that improvement onto the developers, which we're trying to do, just as we are here with the Moseley Street Main Street Road. We as the town will act as developer for that portion to put that road in. It's up to us to do it right, right? And once we do that, everything will follow. It's the same thing with, one of the terms that was used, and when I was talking about widening Dreer Shoals Road, and again, that's the hot button. I was told by one of the DOT employees that you can't widen yourself out of congestion. Right? You can't do it. At that's true, because at some point that widening is going to stop, and it's going to clog. It's filling your funnel. It's like at some point it's going to clog up. So they're very correct. So they're looking more at intersectional impact than they are at widening roads, and we're not even on the radar. When I say we're not on the radar, you got to be on their long-range plans, which are 10 years out. We're not even on the long-range plan for the widening of Dreer Shoals Road. So that's the frustration, and it's very frustrating as a councilman to deal with those types of things and know that we don't have very little impact. And I'll give you another example. The Christian Brothers Tire and Auto Center had no idea what their ingress and egress were going to be. And they're looking to us to improve that. It's a brand new intersection, and they have very little ingress and egress. So as the council, all we can do is make a lot of noise, scream, kick our heels, and hopefully we get something done. But it's very frustrating, and that's what I mean by we got to develop, and then hopefully they'll come.
Kerry, do you have any follow-up on that?
Bureaucracy is one of the worst things. It slows everything, and we see it all the time. But I would say that's probably one of the biggest complaints that we get here at the chamber. Broad River Road, folks hate to come from Chapin or have to go to Chapin because you're just going to sit there a lot. Our fire chief, he speaks all the time about how dangerous it is. That it's clogged up all the time because emergency vehicles can't. It's incredibly difficult to be an emergency first responder right now if you're trying to get between Irmo and Chapin, either on the interstate or by 76. So it's a big complaint that we get. Of course, most of the complaints we get, I shift over to him because we certainly can't do anything about it except tell the people who can make more noise than us. But I do appreciate that Councilman Danielson is sitting in those meetings and actually trying to make some things happen, because it is slow going and we're nowhere near getting anything accomplished. Yeah, with that.
We're going to start the dive into the Moseley Street Project now, talking about the acquisitions of the properties, who's going to be paying for it, the stuff that everybody really cares about. Because a project like this, people want it to be done. They want it to be done quick, and they don't want to pay for it is the main thing. And then they want to make the money on what they didn't pay for. So let's start with going there. So the first thing we need to start with then is the Moseley Street Project. The town does not own the properties yet. What is going to be done that way the town can acquire these properties, and how long is that acquisition period going to take, and how costly will it be, and who will pay for it?
Well, again, impressed with the question. I'm going to try to give you the brief answer, and which will lead to more questions. We have actually earmarked 12 parcels along the Moseley Street corridor that are run from adjacent to church and the entrance to the park all the way up to just below Loveland Coffee, just below the law firm and the firearms training spot. So we have worked on what the numbers would be, what it's worth, what the value of each lot is worth, and we think that's going to take about $500,000 to purchase those 12 parcels. We would like to purchase those parcels one-to-one with the owners. The key is most of those parcels are undeveloped, have no residents on them at all. I think there's only 2 or 3 that might have a couple small homes or mobile homes. So we see this as an opportunity to increase the wealth of individuals who have owned that property for a long time, right? You talk about generational wealth. That seems to be a buzzword that people are chatting about. And generational wealth is only good if you can cash it in at some point in time. And this is the time. This is the time. Otherwise, that property is going to sit there. We set the comp, and that's a comparable for those in the real estate business, as you fellas know. We set the comp with the acquisition of 10 acres, and that we added to the park. So we know it's worth $40,000 an acre. And now when you have separate parcels along there, there's going to be variations for each parcel based on its location within the village itself. So we're going to do that. We're going to do that through a combination of 2 things. We're going to do it through a combination of ARPA money, and I will tell you, this would not be possible without ARPA money, okay? Federal government giving this money to the American Rescue Plan Act, giving money to municipalities and local governments, as well as larger counties. Although this is an add-on, although I'm never a supporter of the ARPA plan. We were lucky to get $5 million, so we're going to take our $5 million. Somebody's going to spend it, right? So the town of Irmo is going to get their $5 million. We've already gotten it. We've got the first half last year. We're getting the second half now, so $2.5 million. So that'll be paid out of ARPA. That's how we're going to acquire it. And then the game plan is then to go to a revenue bond, a general revenue bond, for the balance, for the improvements, the infrastructure of the road. And I feel like my head's just flipping back and forth here like a doggy in the back. The reality is that money will then, we will issue the general revenue bond for $3 million. And that's an estimated number. We've got a lot of play in that number based on the cost of the infrastructure. And bottom line is we can afford it. And before all of the naysayers jump all over this, the town has never had debt. Not necessarily a great thing, right? Debt equals growth, usually, and the ability to sustain oneself and to add. Our whole goal is we spend $500,000 to acquire this property. We're going to get $600,000 back in hospitality taxes when we have this property built up. That's just the way that's just how it's going to be. That's the simplest equation I can give. And the chamber is a critical role, a critical partner in this endeavor, because they see what a positive it is for us to ultimately bring people in to live in the town. Without people living in the town of Irmo, costs the town money. They are not a financial asset to the town. Okay, I mean, people don't understand. A lot of people don't understand that. Assets to the town are businesses, right? We drive our town on businesses. 40% of our budget is business licenses. So we want to have the businesses here, and we want the people to live within the town. Thus, some of the growth that we're talking about, some of this residential growth that some people are so much against. We need those folks to be in the town of Irmo. We need them to want to live here. You guys want them to live here. You want to have something to sell to the market, right? I mean, we have to bring something to the market that is of value. Now, we've just increased the value of a speculator to come in building homes, because now there's a village in Irmo not 2 miles away, or however far away it is.
Let's pick up a little bit backward, a little bit behind that, because you mentioned that this is the first time the town of Irmo has had debt. why is that significant, and why at this time it is the strategy to incur debt to push this forward?
The reason it's significant is it allows us to leverage the hospitality tax that we put in play a year and a half ago. Again, not a big tax fan, but we cannot sustain the town of Irmo. We have two options. And when you look at the overall picture, we have two options of residents and businesses in the town of Irmo. We grow or we die.
Yeah.
There are no others. And in this case, when I say dying, we get absorbed into something else. My beef since I've lived here 30-some years in the Irmo and the surrounding area is how Columbia has come in and has continually pressured us from a border standpoint. We want to make sure this town stays alive and thriving. So we can leverage those funds that we have coming in at $1.3 million in our first year. We'll have 18 months worth of revenue when we even go to work on this bond. And we're going to leverage that tax money into expanding and growing and increasing that tax money and see where it goes from there. There are a myriad of possibilities from there.
Yeah.
So that's why it's critical.
So we talk about this being a mixed use type of project, right? So what's the vision for what's going to be there? When you say it's an attraction, a destination, you've mentioned restaurants, you mentioned hospitality, what's the vision for what all will be there? Is this going to be business and residential, or strictly business, entertainment?
Yes, what we're going to do is we're going to put a special district in play. We're going to do an overlay of that whole area as far as a special district is concerned, which will give us control of what goes in. It'll give us control of materials, exterior materials, construction materials, all the things that have always been lacking in Irmo. Okay, we have no, even if it's zoned, we can't tell you can't put it up because it's flat out ugly, right? We just can't do that. I wish we could at times. So that'll give us the ability to do this, and by having a special district in play. And what do we foresee it? We foresee it as originally, it will be exactly that. It'll be mostly hospitality. Could be a boutique hotel, a 30, 40, 50 room boutique hotel. It would not look like a hotel, all right? It could be a myriad of some upscale restaurants, some really nice local restaurants, those types of things. There won't be any drive-through sandwich shops, that kind of stuff. This is going to be a destination, ice cream shops, all of the things where there'll be retail in there, and hopefully there'll be some livability scenarios in there, i.e., maybe a small condo project in the back, which is what we've kind of pegged that for, where it can literally be a live-work play situation. That's kind of what we're looking for. There would be things that would be restricted, but we've yet to work all those details out.
Kind of upset you didn't mention the brewery that you had talked about earlier, but that happens to the best of us. Kerry, could you just kind of talk about that impact that it would have on the chamber, not just the businesses, but the chamber's growth when this project is finished?
Well, I hope that the chamber can have some sort of presence in our special purpose district that I don't want to be called a village. Let me just put that out there. We don't want to call it a village. I don't know, but something that's not a village. We'll put a little sign out there that says not a village. So I'm putting my input in there.
Welcome to Irmo,
not a village. This is not a village. But from my point of view, this is incredibly exciting, obviously, because I think we're going to have businesses that are going to be clamoring to get a space on Main Street or whatever we call it.
Village.
Not the village. And So I do believe that people are going to be rushing to get in there. I hope that we have some kind of control on what goes in there, i.e., we don't want to see a McDonald's in there, anything like that. But so it would be really nice to see an uptick in entertainment. We have our beautiful amphitheater, and I know that there's probably some plans to expand our amphitheater. We've had our amphitheater a lot longer than other people have, so I would definitely like to see more entertainment booked into that on a regular basis because, people love live music. And of course, I would love to see like a livability part to it because, if you're talking about a certain demographic, which you're about to be in soon, George, they like to day drink. They like to, be able to walk their dogs. They like to be able to go see live music, and they don't want to have to drive to go anywhere to do that, So it would just be incredibly cool to see something like that. It would take us from a sleepy suburban town to a place that people want to come to, I mean, look, people drive from Blythewood to Lexington now. Mm-hmm. Who ever thought that would happen, right? Yeah, so I would love to see that.
Definitely, especially since right now, in my opinion, Lake Murray Boulevard is kind of just that crossover to get to the lake. So it'd be nice for people to be able to stop.
We hate to cut off our conversation there, but tune back next Friday when we release part 2 with Bill and Kerry talking about the Moseley Street Project.